Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. I hope this new week brings you something great. So, in this video, we will talk about the reason why the AES leaders did not come to power just to hold election. So, with the defunding of political parties throughout the AES and the dissolution of political parties in country in for example Niger, and the dissolution of the electoral committee in Burkina Faso. There's been a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of noise by Africans in the continent, in the AES, outside of the continent, and their backers. But to really analyze why the reason why the AES leaders came to power, of course, security when they first came to power was the improvement of the security situation, the improvement of the life of citizens. Citizens should be able to move freely, development, and so forth. And we welcome these steps being taken, for example, to defund political parties, use that money to build energy projects, hospitals, just th- things that will make the life of their citizens improve. Yes, politics in Africa and in most African states, of course, even throughout the world, of course, politics is just a get rich scheme. You will see somebody in politics just for a few years. No, they own mansion, they own businesses, they own big cars and so forth. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. For me, I would like to say that stuff is for the birds. Even though, of course, these these politicians are actually making policies that will harm their citizens. So now some people will say, that's not all politician. That's the majority, I would say. That's the vast majority. Um, with this political system, this neo-colonial system that was born in the 1990s, this this predatory system, I would say, you can see that no great politician have really come to power in these countries, except for a few exceptions. We can talk about John Magufuli in Tanzania. Yes, he was great, but of course he wasn't a revolutionary, but he was a good leader. And these are the ones that probably slip through the cracks every now and then, but still they don't have the backing of the system. The system will then undo whatever they have accomplished throughout their time. So whether you want to think that not all politicians are like that, like we said, the majority of them, the system picks the worst of society. It attracts the worst of society to lead our countries, to lead the political parties. They will sell these politicians. They will sell their own mother. They will sell their own parents for whatever. So that is what we are trying to push, that in the AES, the whole point of this revolution is to undo the whole structure, the whole system, even though the political system is part of that neo-colonial system. So why we should not have election in the AES? Well, let's talk for a little bit. Let's take a look at this. Politicians are like vultures. They're like hyenas. Once a revolutionary leader leave his revolutionary state and try to become what I would call a politician, they're trying to hold the election. They're trying to placate to the power structure. Their politicians will. see that politicians on their back, from the the imperialists. That is why the imperialist media always pushing that, oh, these dictators are not holding the election. They need to hold the election. Once you start doing that, they smell weak. That is a sign of weakness. That is a sign of you caving. That is a sign of you placating to these people. And just like vulture, when they smell rot, when they smell rot, when they smell a carcass, they all corral around you and pounce on whatever you have. Or like a hyena. A hyena will just, rip you to shreds. So a good example of this is General Chengpong of Ghana. General Chengpong was a leader in Ghana, was a military man in Ghana who came to power, of course, through a coup d'etat. And one of his strategic mistakes was he did not have a revolutionary structure around him. When I say a revolutionary structure, it's not okay just for the military to govern. We need revolutionary people to hold position, revolutionary ideas to push whatever goal you are making. We saw that we saw the classic regime change operation were used against General Chengpong's student movement, politicians, of course, the business class, those who were, those who lost their privilege, the political structure basically put pressure on General Chengpong to push for a compromise. So once you start to compromise, you have failed. Of course, he was then betrayed, overthrown by those who were around him who did not have discipline, and that was, we know the story of him being executed, even though he was, you know, accused of corruption, but no corruption was basically found, or to the extent that they said he was. So when did this new so-called democratic structure came into West Africa in particular? Let's focus on West Africa since this is where the AES is located. So in the 1990s, after the fall of the Soviet Union, the West the West sought to push this thing of democracy, where all these military leaders took their suits off and become so-called politicians. We saw in Ghana with Jerry Rawlings. In Nigeria, they had the election, I think, around 1993. In Togo, there was a lot of turbulence, but still, the facade of election was being held. Many other states try to try to put on many other leaders try to put on this facade of democracy. We even saw Blaise Compaore try try to present himself as a Democrat, even though he reigned forever and a day until the people of Burkina Faso kicked him out. So, what was the whole point of this so-called democracy? The West coming in a time when they claim the imperialists, they've defeated the Eastern Bloc, so they could not use the excuse of just coup d'etat over and over. So they came up with a democratic system, as they call it. If a leader disobey them, they can always replace them through election. It won't have the political chaos, I would say, as a coup d'etat. When a coup d'etat happen, everybody is in shock, but you can get them all through election, to color revolution, to supporting their opponents, even if they don't want to come. If you still want to get rid of them, you can use color revolutions to say, oh, the people are fighting for their democratic rights and so forth. But still, this is what this system was. It was never to benefit the people. Of course, the people would say, yes, we can, be like, we can develop now because we can vote for the leaders that we want to develop our country, and we see where we are now. Every election is dead, is fight, is complain. There's a lot of constitutional coup d'etat as you see in Cote d'Ivoire, even in Togo now. It's just a lot of chaos. So during the 1990s, of course, there were people who the West support before the 1990s. For example, the overthrow of Modibo Keita in Mali by Musa Traore. Still, he was ousted through a color revolution in Mali around 1991. Because there's one thing with the West, they can use you even though they don't have full control of you. They don't, you're not fully submitted to them. But once you can be used for a certain purpose, they will keep you around. But once you start to show any slight disobedience, as they did as for Musa Traore, you can, whatever you think of him, he wasn't, the one that they could totally bully. He was overthrown to a cover revolution in Mali in the 1990s. And look, we are back to basically zero one, where the nation of Mali has to be basically refounded currently. So, ladies and gentlemen, all these intellectuals are saying that Africans, in the AES leader has to midwife, like they like to put it, midwife and transition. Transition to what? The whole system needs to be totally dismantled. And we're calling on Africans that it's time to look, as Tamak Sankara said, for a revolution to succeed, you need total madness. It's like the things you will do, people will look at you like you're crazy, you're mad. Maybe not crazy, but mad. So this is what we need in the AES. We applaud the dissolution of political parties, cut their funding. These politicians, they don't work. This is why there are so many political parties in our states, in a lot of our states. They know they are funded even through the constitution. So anyone can go out, create a political party, get funding, get money. They all work together. They're no, they only oppose. The only opposition is opposition to the people's prosperity. And moving forward, we hope all those resources are diverted to development projects, building of roads, building of the healthcare system, building of things that will make the people's life better, rather, and of course, more importantly, the improvement of the security situation, which is happening as we speak. It's happening rapidly. The militaries of the AES are winning victories every day. We congratulate them, we applaud them, and I think all Africans should applaud them through in the continent or throughout the continent. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today.